Bethesda and Xbox's biggest and most ambitious game is a sci-fi RPG Starfield, set to release in mid-2023. Xbox recently announced that a dedicated Starfield showcase is coming soon, but there are two major concerns fans have about the game ahead of release. This is Colteastwood. Thank you for checking out this video. Today we're going to talk about the performance for Starfield and the possible release date. If you end up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new content, and let's talk about Starfield 60 FPS and when we're going to see the release. Starfield is a massive open world RPG built within the Creation Engine, an updated and modified version that has evolved over the years to power the immersive and interactive worlds Bethesda Software creates. One of the most major concerns for Starfield is the frame rate, and the marketing up to this point that has shown the game running at 30 FPS. First of all, Starfield is an Xbox exclusive.
And yes, it's exclusive.
This means it is launching on PC and Xbox Series S and X consoles, excluded from Nintendo and PlayStation platforms. Todd Howard has stated in interviews that he prefers to play his games with the visuals cranked up all the way.
I'm more of a 30 frames a second.
We okay with 30 frames a second.
30 feels great.
He goes on to explain why Bethesda Softworks games run at 30 FPS on the consoles.
We okay with 30 frames a second as long as it looks really good and the simulation's running and all of those things.
But for our style game, I honestly feel 30 feels great, and I'd rather have all the little bits and shiny pixels and be able to pick up the cups, and I like that level of immersion.
One of the reasons why Starfield has been shown at 30 FPS is because I believe Todd Howard asked the team to crank up the visuals at native 4K for the gameplay trailer to make the game look as sharp and impressive as possible, and that meant lowering the frame rate to 30 FPS. I also believe that Todd Howard saw the gameplay, that it emulated the visuals of Interstellar the movie that Starfield takes massive inspiration from. And he said, yes, this is how we'll show it at the event. Why would Todd Howard set a standard and stance that his games should run at a film-like 30 FPS, knowing that Starfield is launching on PC and Xbox Series X, where there is plenty of power, overhead, and flexibility to set a 60 FPS target by choosing performance over visuals? Digital Foundry explains why.
The main issue is that they seem to prioritize lots of small-scale interactions and detail, like the persistence of objects and those large modular worlds. It can be extremely demanding, and not just in terms of graphics.
So the answer is not quite as simple as fans had hoped, as the nature of Starfield and the total interactivity of Creation Engine may make Starfield, even on killer PCs, a challenge to set a high-performance target without major compromises to fidelity. First, we need to look at the visuals. At first glance, for the casual, Starfield is not a mind-blowing visual showcase, partially due to barren wasteland vistas, a desaturated color-cast art style, and a scope that spans an entire galaxy system. Looking at several passing moments in the trailer, and it is obvious that Starfield is much more visually impressive than we first thought at a glance. John Linneman from Digital Foundry says,
I do think it is shaping up to be one of the most attractive games Bethesda Game Studios has released to date. Most of the uglier bits that plagued Fallout 4 and 76 have been eliminated, and we're left with some truly exceptional environments to explore instead. Furthermore, Starfield showcases structures and scale unlike anything they've built in the past, or even these more cyberpunk-like environments. It's very new for Bethesda Game Studio.
Talking to game developers, they explain that a game studio has to allocate and budget the memory of the system target from each part of the game creation team. The sound, animations, visuals, and environmental departments have to all come together with their respective memory budget and allow the game as a whole to perform and look excellent without, let's say, compromising on visuals to get better animations. In the case of Starfield, the Creation Engine developers have to make sure each and every item in the world can be picked up, integrated into the inventory, and complicated skill and character systems can function under the memory budget to make Starfield feel immersive and connected as a Bethesda game only can. It is very possible that Todd Howard knows that even with the processing power and strong GPU in the Xbox Series X console, hitting a 60 FPS target or holding that target, which we'll cover in a minute, may be more challenging than we expected. Now, let's look at why Starfield could actually have a mode that runs at 60 FPS. Number 1, it probably won't run at 60 FPS on the Xbox Series S. The lower memory pool in this console mostly guarantees it is a 30 FPS game. Number 2, the Xbox Series X has more than enough overhead and power to run Starfield at a dynamic resolution at 60 FPS. Recently, in an interview with Lex Fridman, Todd Howard explained.
And the Series X is just a incredible machine, and have help from them, the top engineers at Xbox, to say we are going to make this look incredible on the new systems is like, from my standpoint, it's just awesome. And now that we're part of Xbox, getting the people who built it to show you how to make it really, really dance it's just awesome.
What Todd is referring to is the implementation of full RDNA 2 architecture feature sets that boost performance, increase efficiency, and speed up the processing of massive visuals that span the environments in Starfield. The first order of business is Fidelity Super Resolution, or FSR 2.0, a software-based feature built into the Xbox that can sometimes double the perceived resolution by sharpening up the image frame by frame, while also giving back some 15 to 30% performance for frame rate. In other words, Starfield could be set to 1080p HD resolution, pushed to look like half of 4K, while also getting a frame rate from 30 up to 60. Keep in mind that if Starfield runs at 60 FPS on the raw hardware, but drops to below 40, the devs will just drop it down and cap it at 30. But with FSR 2.0, a more stable 60 FPS target is now on the table. Making Starfield sing and dance on the Xbox consoles also means taking advantage of sampler feedback streaming and velocity architecture that is proprietary to the Xbox Series consoles, and this will speed up the input-output of the game running across the Xbox chipset, freeing up much needed performance, eliminating noticeable pop-in, and keeping loading times down to a minimum. Requirements on PC to run this game at recommended visuals at 60 FPS will be very high, no doubt, as it will probably take a $1,500 PC to get something better than the Xbox Series X in performance. But Bethesda has the express advantage of the Xbox team helping to get the most out of the console for Starfield. Much of this relies on the creation engine that was made to run Fallout 4 on a vanilla Xbox at 30 FPS. So it stands to reason Starfield should be able to hit 60 FPS with that same engine on the Xbox Series X in 2023. 2023, the release date. Let's talk about when Starfield is coming out. Starfield was originally set for November 2022, but pushed into early 2023 midway through last year, and now strong rumors are circling that Starfield needs not a few months, but possibly almost an entire extra year. Xbox announced that a dedicated Starfield event is coming soon, but if it was to make the last promise of before June 2023, then that event needs to take place in mid-February next month to have a pre-order buffer of 4 months to launch. Rumors have been whispered that Starfield needs a bit more time, and releasing in summer, like July or August, is not a good window for games releases, so September has often been repeated by Windows Central's Jez Corden on his prediction for a good window for release, and that is very disappointing for fans that expected Starfield to come out in March or even as late as June of this year, not expecting a whole 9-month delay. The reality is that if Bethesda was independent and not now owned by Xbox, Starfield would likely be out already. With whatever technical issues are being resolved right now, Xbox has changed their stance and asked their teams to take the time needed to get the game right the first time with a delayed launch, instead of repeating the mistakes of Halo Infinite or even something like Cyberpunk 2077. If, in fact, Starfield's release date is some 8 months away, the Xbox and Bethesda teams need to work hard together to get Starfield looking and feeling polished with all of the power available and a 60 FPS performance mode on the Xbox Series X, and a stable frame rate across recommended and required spec PCs. With the extra time and new tech available, Starfield has the opportunity to be one of the biggest games of 2023, and possibly one of the most talked about games of the entire generation. This is Colteastwood. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I've been digging into a lot of Starfield information, talking to as many people as I can that are in the know about what's going on with the development of Starfield and how it'll perform on the consoles, and I tried to illustrate to the best of my knowledge what's going on with the situation, especially for the Xbox Series X, which a lot of people who watch this channel play on that console. If you ended up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new weekly content, and you can also hit the join button below if you want to get videos early in access like this one for channel members and Patreons. Also, if you want to hear more discussion weekly on the XSC podcast, we talk about some of these things in depth, but I want to know what you think is happening with Starfield. There's two major questions and concerns we covered in this video. What is the release month? And will it have a 60 FPS performance mode on the Series X? Let me know in the comment section, write it down there, get in the discussion, try not to get into major fights, and as I always say, please, be nice.